Hi everybody, it's Andy, and you can see we've got our resident tax expert Mark with us. Hi Mark.
Hello everyone.
Very interesting today, quite specific, and but it's one of those things, I guess, again, that we really need to tackle because there's loads of people who do this type of thing. So tell us what we're going to be doing and how we're going to go.
Okay, this is the third in the series of 4 on serviced accommodation, furnished holiday letting.
Yeah.
Property investors always look at FHL. Do they own the property, or do they look at rent to SA, which is presentation number 2 and number 4. This is number 3. This is a bit that people forget about, and they mustn't. It's the broker. It's the agent who's actually filling up your SA for you if you're not doing it yourself.
Yeah.
And it's focusing on them, but don't turn off if you're not an agent yourself. Don't turn off, because you need to know what they're doing, because what they do affects you either as a rent to SA operator or as an FHL owner. Yeah. So really important, but that's what we're going to cover today.
Cool. Okay, so let's get your presentation up and we'll
crack on.
We'll crack on.
Yep. Doesn't bode well when I use the wrong word in the first minute, does it? No, but we are talking about agents, not brokers. So.
Agents, not brokers. Okay. So if you can get your presentation up on screen and I can share your screen.
I think I've done that.
Okay, if you want to put it up the full screen so we've got it.
Yep. So you're in control, and is that visible now?
It's all up now. That's brilliant.
Perfect. Right, here we go. So this is today's topic. I've just spoken about it. Hopefully by now people know who we are. Yes, this is an area of specialization for us. SA, and I'm going to launch on this one in a second. SA is really specialist stuff. I'm amused all the time, including today, by people saying, yes, you see on social media, anyone got a good accountant? Yeah, there were 30 people, some of them just out of university. I know of literally half a dozen really good property accountants in the country. And in terms of SA, you're on an even smaller number than that. So be careful, folks, get someone that knows what they're doing. Important slide, as always, this is not professional advice. Do not take action, refrain from taking action based on what I'm saying today. It's down to you to get your information. Really, so what I'm trying to do is give you some overview guidance. I know it's quite detailed, and other accountants criticize me for giving too much detail away. It's quite detailed, but necessary. Let's crack on. So the first question, are you an agent? If so, well done. I congratulate agents because it means they've got a skill in marketing and interpersonal skills, both of which are needed. Property owners, brilliant at finding the right deals, going out there hunting, deal stacking, negotiating deals, refurbing property. Some are actually quite good at dressing it. I know some aren't. But that doesn't mean to say you're great at marketing to holidaymakers and short-term travelers. So an agent is really quite an important person to you. If there's a skills that you don't have, bring them in. So if you're an agent, well done. An agent will fill a property, make the property profitable for the property owner, and they have earned their profits. And they really do earn their profits. So don't begrudge them their money, folks. So we're going to now go into what is an agent. I know everything I do is a bit techie. I'm an accountant, for goodness sake. Trying to follow some of this, it's really important to get these distinctions right. So the first one we're going to look at is this disclosed or undisclosed. It's the first one that will guide you in how the agent is setting up his business. But it is important to you as the property owner or to the rent to SA operator to know how the agent is working. I keep nearly saying broker. How the agent is working, because it will impact on you. So keep engaged. The distinction between a disclosed or undisclosed agent is super simple. Does the agent tell the end client, the holidaymaker, the traveller, that they're using somebody else's property, so they're working on behalf of somebody? Or are they allowing them to think that actually it's their property? That sounds really easy, doesn't it? But it's a bit more detailed than that. What does the website say? During the booking process, what do you say? You know, if you say, oh yeah, well, I'm just going to check with the owner a second just to make sure that's available, and I'll check with the owner, see if that item is in the unit. You're disclosing that there is an owner that's not you. Okay, so are you disclosing inadvertently, even if you're not making a great big thing of disclosure? So really important. And as always with these things, I always talk about this clarity. If you are about to say, no, actually, I don't disclose. Oh yeah, but actually I do. You know, when they phone and complain about something, I'll say it's not my fault, it's the owner's fault. You've disclosed that there is an owner, it's not you. So I think there ought to be clarity. So make sure your paperwork, I know, I always talk about paperwork, make sure your paperwork's right. If you are a truly undisclosed agent, okay, anyone dealing with you at any point has any comprehension whatsoever that you're an agent, then actually, well, it looks a bit like a rent to rent. You've taken the property off somebody else. They're in the shadows. No one can see them, and everything is you. So it's looking like a rent to rent, isn't it, or a rent to SA? So this distinction between disclosed and undisclosed, very important. Now, for any rent to SA operators listening to me, when we come to presentation number 4, when we're talking about the rent to SA model, we will be talking about the undisclosed agent. Predominantly today, we're going to be talking about the disclosed agent, but we'll cover both. So having said that, we've got one method of identifying you. Now we're going to get to the second method of how are you paid? If you are the agent, how are you paid? Okay. A disclosed agent. So on your website, everyone absolutely knows that you are acting on behalf of somebody else, renting their property out for them. You're a disclosed agent, you're probably charging commission. That's the usual method, isn't it? It's great. It's a win-win. And I respect you as an agent for doing that, because you don't make any money unless the property owner makes some money. So you've created a symbiotic relationship, and I think that is the perfect style of relationship. As each is successful, each can benefit. Well done. The rent to SA model, again, is that you've rented in the property, you guarantee the property owner an income, and you're going to rent the property out and you're going to make a margin between the two. The property owner won't know what you've rented it out for, they won't know what your income is, etc. Again, typical of an undisclosed. Now, there are nuances. And the dear lady I was chatting with in Cornwall only last night, if you happen to be watching today, I told you I was thinking about you at this point, which is where you sell a lead. You get lots of people asking for property. You can't fulfill it with your own properties, therefore you're selling the lead on to somebody else. You're getting a commission per night for the time they're staying there. Notice the word I've just brought in again, commission. Looks like a disclosed, so you've told people, no, it's not me, but I'll put you in contact with, and that person deals with it. Well done. So however you nuance it, typically you can fit into these two categories, disclosed or undisclosed, share a profit, the win-win scenario, commission deal, or undisclosed, the profits are yours. Okay, so these are these two distinctions. Hopefully you've got that. That's really important in this presentation. Which of course beggars the question, why does it matter? You've got to manage your taxes if you're the property owner or the renter or the rent to SA operator, or indeed the agent in the middle, because you've got to manage your taxes appropriately. So I'm going to imagine you've got it wrong. So imagine you're a property owner. Sorry, I'm going to view this from the property owner's position, not from the agent's position. If you imagine you're the property owner, and you are acting and accounting and paying taxes as if you are the FHL operator. That's what you believe you are. But you use the agent to outsource the marketing. absolutely normal specialist marketeers. Perfect. But then the agent's making a mess of their paperwork. They are treating themselves like they're a rent to SA operator. Hang on a minute, that doesn't work. So their agent's mistakes can come back on the property owner. Flip that around to property owner's mistakes can come back on the agent. And the reverse is true. What if you are simply a property investor and you've rented out your property to another company? You don't care what they do with it, it's not your problem. You've got the right authorizations in place to be an SA. But the agent's now acting as if they are a disclosed agent. In other words, they're saying it's you, the property owner, that has to deal with the FHL rules, VAT, etc., TOMS, all the other things we're going to talk about. So you've got to be coordinated between the two. So for me, it really is a case of getting your paperwork straight. There really ought to be clarity of how is the agent operating and how is his property providing client operating. And you two have got to be hand in glove. It isn't just an outsourced resource. It's more than that. You've got to be really communicative. And I think the paperwork needs to be clear for that protection. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to look at what is a normal looking agent. Couldn't think of a better phrase for that one. Well, a normal looking agent is disclosed. They tell everyone that they are an agent and they're paid by commission. That's the normal method. Okay. There are other variations, as I've said, nuances, don't worry about them. So what I'm now going to do in the following slides is I'm starting to go into the tax aspects of this from the agent's perspective. And then finally, I'm going to be looking at it from the property owner's perspective in terms of looking at their agent. Okay with that? I've already said it. The takeaway so far, paperwork. Yeah. Make sure there's no confusion. Make sure there's no ambiguity. Make sure that everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet here. Who's responsible for what? So, the big topic. I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time on this particular slide. There are, I think, if my memory serves me, we're on number 5 now. There's only 6, I think. I only got covered that last time, but I think it's only 6. Going to spend a bit of time on this one. So, first of all, let's look at banking. You're a disclosed agent. As a disclosed agent, the cash that arrives from the end client, they're booking with you, the agent, but it's not your cash. You've already told everyone it's not your cash. I'm doing this on behalf of somebody you've disclosed. Therefore, please put it into your client account. So I know banks right now right now is January 20. The banks are now frightened of their shadows. They've jumped into a hole and pulled the hole in after them. They are awful. Trying to get a client account right now, really tough. I get it. Even getting a bank account open is really tough. I get it. Clients, I'm not going to explain how I do this in an open presentation because it's slightly cheeky. But clients of our firm, we can talk you through how to get this client account opened through effectively a sort of a sideways movement. But the point that's really important here is that banking, it's not your money. So for those of you that actually understand accounting speak, and I know that's quite difficult sometimes, if you think of a set of accounts, you have a balance sheet and a profit and loss account. Cash arriving normally, sales, cash arriving normally is revenue. It's into your profit and loss account. Hopefully that makes sense to you. In this environment, the cash was never yours. So it never actually hits your P&L account. It hit your balance sheet. You've had this money, but it's the client account. It's somebody else's money. So it sits into your balance sheet. So really important to get your banking straight. Now, there will be people saying, oh, yeah, but I can't do that. It's too fussy, too much effort, too much. Well, if it's too much effort, what the hell are you doing this for? If you want to do it badly, you're just taking silly risks. So I don't tolerate the excuse of it's too much effort. I think that's your job. You're meant to be putting effort into your business. But more than that, it will protect you later on to do it properly. That's why the accountants always want you to do things in a more structured and proper manner. Okay. Big topic, this one, client statements. So now all this cash has arrived into the client account. That's good. It may be that you're paying some costs on their behalf. Maybe they've asked, the client's asked for, the property owning client has asked for Google ads and whatever, social media advertising, I don't know. But there are costs that you may well have incurred. So you should be providing a statement back to your property owning client every month that says, these are the people that stayed, this is how much they've paid, this is the total amount that you've received into the client account, these are the expenses we've deducted from it. By the way, you owe us a commission of, and declare your commission. Okay? Simple client statement. Should be done. All right. An interesting one. Do you need a set of accounts for that? Quite often, somebody will engage accountants like us to say, well, produce the accounts for my agency company. But they don't think to say, well, I need client account reconciliations and statements to be shown to my property owning clients. I think that's a very good idea. If you want it, you must tell the accountant, yes, they're going to charge you because you're asking them to do more work. Let me explain why I think it's particularly important. Your relationship with your client is very important. Nobody should have any doubt about you. Therefore, go the extra mile, do the extra job that needs to be done to prove that you are the good guys to work with. I remember, and I of course will not share names, the chap that had his own SA units. And then he set up a very good marketing channel for himself and said, oh, why don't I sell this off to other people? And lo and behold, he did. So recognize now he's letting out a lot of units, some of which he owns, some of which he doesn't. And he's a disclosed agent. That's fine. Would you like to guess which of those units had the most occupancy or which ones didn't? So it took a while for his property owning clients to twig that actually his units, the agent's units, were up at 90% occupancy, whereas their units were down in the 50s, 55, 60s. As soon as that was found out, now he's had to disclose and share this information, and I know he's out of business. So he doesn't, the chap I'm thinking of doesn't exist in this business anymore. He's still in the property arena, but doesn't exist in this business anymore. How bad was it to go through that process and to have that doubt in your client's minds that they sent the accountants in to find it out? So think about being forthright and open and honest with these things, okay? Think about your reputation. It's very important. I've already said your commission is going to be declared on this client statement, isn't it? Because it's going to be a deduction from their money, which is held in your client account. So declare it. Now you transfer that money out and into your current account to pay your bills. Does that mean that cash is arriving that you can't use because you've got to wait for the end of the month to do your statements? Yes, it does. Does it mean you need working capital? Yes, it does. But does it mean your hands are clean and you've got a very good, clean, demonstrable process that you can go through with your clients? Yes, it does. For you, from an accounting perspective, now, visualize this. All that cash went in the balance sheet, nothing to do with your profit and loss account. The only money that comes into your business, into your current account, I know that's still balance sheet, but it's the sale for you, is your commission. So that then starts to affect, doesn't it, when you become VAT registered, because it's when your commissions then get to the VAT registration. So hence you declare it and that's your sales figure. Now that's what you're adding up to whether you get to mandatory VAT registration. Okay, so getting these things right also protects you to make sure that you're not registering for VAT too early. Who wants to give away 20% of their revenue to the taxman? Commission is vatable. I don't care that it's SA. I don't care that the property owner is a non-vatable person. None of that's relevant. What is it you're doing? If you get to the VAT threshold on a commission basis, you are now vatable, and it will reduce your profits. Very important page. That's the things that you need to focus on. Last one. I talked already about these nuances. So the person that's saying, well, fine, yes, I operate as an agent, I do all this very properly, but in addition to which I am now getting lead generation fees, I'm getting all sorts of things. Well, if this is all in one business, that's all vatable. Well, that's okay. Lead generation and commission is all vatable, no problem. What if you say, well, I am an agent and I do agency work for other people, and I do it very fairly, very honestly, and I declare everything very nicely, but I also look after my own units, and I am a rent to SA operator in my own right. Oh, well, hang on a minute now. Now we've got the rent to SA that you operate in your own right is subject to TOMS VAT, Tour Operators Margin Scheme. And believe me, we're going to go into a lot of detail on that in presentation number 4, the final presentation on the SA series. But also you're doing commission, and you might be doing lead generation. You might be doing other things. So you've mixed up your business. You've got lots of different types of activity in the same business. All doable, it's okay, but you're not probably going to enjoy the paperwork. Okay, so let me put that into context and perhaps tempt you to look at presentation number 4. If you are using the Tour Operators Margin Scheme, and if you are into your second year onwards in that business, when you complete the VAT return, the idea of using a figure and put the figure in for sales, just imagine that simple thing. What was the total value of your sales? Okay, that's easy, isn't it? We should just be able to look on the accounts. No. Under the TOM scheme, it is a 35-step mathematical calculation to get to the correct figure to put into the box for the word sales. That's under TOMS. Now, of course, some of those boxes you go, yep, the answer is no, click, move on. I'm not suggesting you've got to do 35 individual steps. There's 35 points you have to consider through this calculation. Now, if you mix in commission with it, you've just made that bigger. Okay, so mixing activities in there, absolutely fine. Who the hell wants a second company? Who do you want to, what do you want to pay an accountant twice for? Get it, but there are some downsides. I'm not suggesting you don't do it. I'm definitely not suggesting you don't do it, but conscious that VAT in a mixed activity business really takes a big effort. So shunted on now for 23 minutes. You'll be pleased to hear I'm now towards my last slide. I want to look at those topics again, but I want to look at it from the perspective of the property owner who is now using an agent. What does that mean? We've looked at this thing between the disclosed and the undisclosed agent and how the agent should organize things. So hopefully you've got a picture now of how a good broker is probably operating. If you're using the disclosed agent and you've merely outsourced, so as an FHL operator yourself using an agent, go back to presentation number 2 in this series. I know it's on the pin files. Pin have kindly allowed me to put it onto my video channel as well, so you can see it there. You've got to make sure you're accounting properly as the FHL owner yourself if you're using a disclosed agent. If you're using an undisclosed agent, I suggest you make a point to look at the 4th of these presentations. You have, within a short time, 25 minutes this time, makes a change for me, doesn't it, reviewed acting as an agent for FHL and Rent to SA. So if we can hope that Andy's still in the room, but he might not be, he might have got a snuck off.
I am.
I didn't know whether I'd got you to fall asleep there, mate, but
no, I was listening intently.
Okay, brilliant stuff. Good.
So
it's distinctions.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of looks like the key things here are obviously clarity throughout is a much better way. See, I think a lot of people sort of think that they've got to cloak things in certain ways, but clarity that does give a lot of people confidence, on both sides. When you talk about,
sorry, I'll interrupt you a second, Andy, if I may. It does, but I'm afraid I've been a landlord now for 25 years. I don't want people dealing with me who cloak things. I just want you to be transparent with me.
Yeah.
I'm also an accountant. If you give HMRC a grey area, they will choose to interpret the greyness in whichever colour they want that suits their purpose of extracting cash. So it really, cloaking things and being a bit careful with language isn't always a good thing to do, because you're potentially exposing yourself. So this clarity, particularly between people who are trading together, right? Very important. Sorry.
Yeah, I've just taken the presentation down now, so you can bring yourself back up again so you can see what's going on. Does the actual property owner prefer an agent that is disclosed, do you think? Is that something which they feel more comfortable with?
Good question. There are people out there who are saying, I'm tired, I'm a property owner, I'm tired, I don't like tenants, I don't like all this messing around, I'd like some guaranteed rent, right? Fantastic. Those property owners are up for a rent to SA deal.
Yeah.
Providing the property can be used, provide the mortgage situation, there's rules, everybody please, you do know there's rules. If you're going to get involved in this, you know the rules. If you don't, go back and look at presentation number 1. So the rent to SA model is wonderful. The person that says, actually, I'm great at property, I want to understand this, but I'm not really as good as someone like Andy, for example, who's brilliant at marketing. I want to use those marketing skills. Great. So now you'll have a disclosed agent doing that work, and you will be the FHL operator because you want the capital allowances, you want the Section 24 relief, because you want to be the FHL operator. And all you've done is just bought in a resource. Just as you buy in cleaning, laundry, you can buy in marketing or accountancy. You can buy in these things. So if you want to be the FHL operator because you want all the good bits, but this is one of the bad bits you don't want, outsource it and find yourself a damn good agent, because there's some really good ones out there.
So one of the questions, if you are a property owner and you're looking for an agent to market out your property, is it a conversation that you need to have with the agent? Are you disclosed or undisclosed? And if so, how do you structure your business? Is it worth someone owning property to have that discussion?
Yeah, because and this is a tough one for the new entrant. So let's recognise, folks, we're on a PIN presentation here today, working with probably the best of all the tutors, but I know Simon doesn't teach SA. I know he doesn't. He's kindly allowed me to do this presentation on a topic he doesn't teach. That's because you should know knowledge is power. And that's what Simon gives you every day. He gives you knowledge, it's power. If you're a brand new agent and you want to get into this agent market, having the knowledge to know what you're going to do, what your paperwork looks like, so that when you speak to the property owner, you will be clear and precise and say, I will act as your disclosed agent because you are the FHL operator. You're now giving the property owner some comfort that you do actually understand he is the FHL operator. You're not trying to do a rent to SA, or you'll say the other thing, I want to do a rent to SA, and good, do that then. So have knowledge is power, and it's part of these presentations is to give you more knowledge and therefore make you more powerful, which is, I think, the whole point of PIN, really. That's what it does. It just gives you power. as a property owner, when a broker approaches you, and I personally don't rent out any of my properties to SA. If I did, and a broker came to me, broker again, agent comes to me and says, I'll look after your property for you, Mark. I go, all right, so how do you do that? It's a disclosed or undisclosed agent. What? Thank you. Next. If they don't understand, I can't do business with them.
So again, is these sort of things where we explore these and we get a better understanding of both sides of the parties, both sides of the story, where if you're looking to find an agent, these are good things to ask them, because it can give you an understanding of what that agent's understanding of the whole process is, the whole industry is. So that's a good thing. The one thing I wanted to sort of just touch on briefly is, again, this point of disclosed and undisclosed. It seems, from listening to your talk today, and this is something which I don't really know too much about, which is why I love doing these things, because I learn so much. But it seems to me that if I was to go into this, if I was thinking of becoming an agent, that would I be right in thinking that maybe doing a disclosed agency and going into the business as a disclosed agency would give me some clarity with the client? It would give some confidence with the client, and it also sort of helps me with things like the VAT side of it, because it means that you're only being paying VAT on the commissions you earn, so that's going to be a lot lower. So you won't reach the threshold as quickly and all those sort of things. But also, it also harks back to some of the past talks that we've done, where if you're going to do that, you need to understand we've talked about this umbrella business and putting companies underneath an umbrella and understanding exactly where money trots between one to the other and things like that. That also comes into play here, doesn't it?
Well, it does. You've raised quite a few good points there. I'm going to try and pick a few of them off, if I may.
Okay.
How does a person move into being an agent? Don't say broker again, Mark. How do you get into being an agent? Well, the usual method is you're actually a property owner. And you say, Section 24, blah, blah, blah. I've got to move myself over. I'm going to do my business rates rather than property council rates. And I'm going to be an SA operator, an FHL operator. And then you start to do the marketing and find it easy. You go, wow, I'm great at this. And then you go to your local PIN meeting and say, it's super easy. I've got so many inquiries I don't know what to do with them all. And then someone else in the room says, send me some, will you? At which point you go, I'll be an agent as well. So usually it's because you've started with property and then moved into being an agent. There are people I know, and some really, really good people, who went in on the rent to SA, realised that they're damn good at it, didn't want all the pain of the property. What the hell do they want that for? Let the property owner have that. So they moved the other direction, started at rent to SA and moved back to being just agent. Very few people actually start off by saying, I am a superb agent. I could be a superb agent. People that could do that, and I'm not trying to entice people into the market necessarily, but if you think of people who are brilliant at websites, brilliant at SEO marketing, brilliant marketeers for one business or another, perhaps in the hospitality trade, so they'd be working for hotels forever. I think, actually, if I want my own business, why can't I just become an agent for SA operators? Because I'm taking my natural skills and using them for my benefit. So most people don't enter as agent, they become agent. So that's how the normal entry method is, but there's no barrier to entry on that one. You do find some people saying, well, okay, I've got my own properties and I've got my own properties in this company underneath my umbrella. And I've been renting them out successfully, and I want to create my own brokerage. That's fine.
Agency. You want to put a post-it note on your screen?
Sorry. I've been talking with some mortgage brokers today.
No worries.
Brain dead. I'm not usually this bad, am I?
It just shows you human. That's all. It just shows you human.
I'm going to create my own agency now. Therefore, I want to set up my own company underneath my umbrella to do my own agency work. Yeah, okay. Well, having yourself as your first client is fine, but not for too long, because otherwise it just looks like a fiddle. Actually, we just siphoned off some cash sideways or something like that. But using it as a trial to get the processes working and make sure all the client account works and etc. But remember what I've just said. If you're looking after your own property, how are you going to demonstrate that you're being super honest and not just filling up your properties first and letting other people have the dregs? Yeah, this is a potentially dodgy traveller. I think we all know the sort of thing we could be meaning here. Yes, they'll go into somebody else's property. So think about how to, by all means, use your own agency business that you've just created. Look after yourself as your first client, but not for too long. Learn how to do it that way. So it does fit back into presentations. I think we did the how to structure your business presentation probably 4 or 5 months ago now, and but I know that they're all available on your site and Pin's site, and obviously on mine as well. So.
Yeah, and I think that's something which we will put a link in below on that one as well, because it's sort of this is why it's been so interesting, because it actually structures up from that. There's because most people in property, unless they just got one strategy and they're doing one thing, they do tend to move around and say, well, I can do a bit of that and a bit of this and a bit of that. If you put it all under one company, that's where the problems really start. And it's not only problems of, paperwork and transparency and things like that. It's also not as tax efficient, because you need to sort of separate these things out. You can have an overall sort of business, but you can have different companies doing different things with different tax application.
I can't disagree with the words you've said. I'm going to add to your words, though. When you have, again, I've referred you in the presentation to the lady I was chatting with in Cornwall yesterday evening. And it's the topic that we talked about, which is this artificial segmentation. So if you actually take a person's business and say, well, I'm going to create a business for this and then a business for that, and is it artificial? There is a classic example, and it actually is in most of the textbooks for accountants. Somebody was trying to avoid the VAT thresholds, and this person was in the restaurant trade. Restaurant trade, hotel and restaurant. So they had this beautiful building, lots of covers, great. And what they decided to do was actually rent out the property to a company called Restaurant Monday Limited. I only rented it out on Mondays to them. Then they formed another company that said it's Restaurant Tuesday Limited. So in effect, what they're trying to do is 7 times the mandatory threshold. Would you believe some accountant actually nodded at that and let the client do it and created 7 companies, all called Restaurant something? And it actually is so farcical, it actually made the textbooks of, let me give you an example of what not to do, and get barred as an accountant for recommending something so stupid.
It's almost trying to be too clever and just it's so transparent to the authorities that they're just
and literally, it made the textbooks, it made HMRC's internal books as well, because it is, if you can find one of these, tell us about it, because it's really sort of the bloopers of the month type. Just absurd. But somebody did it, and an accountant agreed with it. And really, I don't actually think the accountant was a qualified accountant. He wasn't a chartered accountant. But it was just absurd. You can't artificially segment, but you've got to do it properly. And there's 5 tests for segmentation. So go through the 5 tests. Yes, it's a pain. Yes, the accountant's going to talk a lot. Never mind. But identify the 5 tests. Test yourself honestly against them. Don't actually read the test and don't read what you want it to say, but what it actually did say. Do the tests, and then you can segment. safely. There's a process to all of this, but everything does interweave and they all connect together. If you look at, I don't know how many we've done of these, 12, 15 of these, Andy, every single one of them, whether it's the one on VAT, training costs, structures, whatever, everything links together.
Yeah.
Everything does.
And I think that's the biggest message, that, you know, when you're going into the business, and property is a business, and when you first start, you start off very small. You might start off with just renting a property out or doing HMO or something like that. Then you might get into something else and then something else. And it is worth talking to someone like yourself to structure those businesses in the most, I say cost effective, the most tax efficient way that you possibly can, because every time that you do something, there's you know, a profit and loss sheet, there's costs and implications and all those sort of things, and it's really worth. You actually save a lot of money by structuring it in the right place. You know, we do say these things quite often, but it's structuring things in the right way that makes sense to you, separates these businesses, because you might want to sell one part of the business, and it's probably easy to do that if it's an entity in its own right.
Absolutely.
And that is something which I don't think people take into consideration. It means a bit of more work at the front end, and genuinely going in with an open mind about your whole business structures.
Yes.
And getting it done right from the beginning. I think that's probably one of the most important things that we've sort of pulled out through these talks that we've had. Because there's some specific things, like today we're talking about, you know, things like agencies and rent to SA and all those sort of things, which is quite niche, but it all comes under the same thing. If you have separate businesses that are doing separate things with separate profits and losses, then it's worth considering using the overall structure and then business below it. And because one of the things we talked about I think it's about sort of 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, was this concept of being able to transfer money between businesses to support them and start them and things like that. And you can only really do that transparently as far as HMRC is concerned, and the VAT people and all that sort of stuff, if you've got those properly created and separated underneath an umbrella business.
Yes.
And I think that's probably one of the most important things that's come out for me, because you sort of think that might be the way, but without actually explaining it, you know, and it's worth looking at that umbrella business type of.
I was smiling through what you were saying there. I have conversations on Facebook all the time, and on Messenger, and you're having these conversations when people are saying, "I know I really, really need good advice. Can I afford it now?" I truly understand the need to protect every penny. I get it. You're just starting a business, you're using your own cash. I personally think it is worthwhile. There was that wonderful saying from Ruskin that I cannot ever get verbatim. I can't do that. But perhaps on the thread afterwards, I'll share this saying from Ruskin about affording the right thing at the right time. I'll share it because I just think it's so true. And it's something I look at as well. I've paid people to give me advice on websites, and it was actually a topic I was dealing with earlier this morning. And I've learnt now, actually, people who keep telling me they can do these things can't.
But actually, I think the key thing is, basically, if you going in a business, getting the business set up in the correct way from day one, and going into it with the concept that yes, you might have to pay people to sort of help you set it up, and understand the nuances between maybe pushing cash from different business to different business and how you can do that tax efficiently. But it saves you so much money in the long run, getting it set up properly, getting the right advice right at the beginning. If you can push yourself into, I don't know, 6 months, 6 years down the line, whatever it is, you'll be in a much better position if you actually get it set up correctly right at the front end.
Yes,
with an open mind and complete transparency and working to that goal.
Set things up today the way you want them to be tomorrow.
Yeah, but that's the best way of saying it. Yeah, there we go. That's a great way of ending. In fact, we should put a banner up with that, I think.
Yeah, lovely. Well, nice chatting again, Andy, and hopefully this has been valuable to the members.
Yeah, just quickly before we go, I've put some information on here, which is your email address, and it's an email address which is specifically for PIN community people. When you give us a little bit of advice, a little bit of time for people, it's and thank you for doing that. And as I say, don't abuse it. This is not a free service. This is a piece of free advice. If you use Mark as a business and you use him as as your advisor, then you'll obviously be paying for it. But this is a little way in, and so you can get a little bit of advice to start with. So there's the email there, and there's a phone number. But as usual, Mark, really fantastic information. Really enjoyed it again. Learned more as usual. So thanks very much for that, and we'll see everybody next time.
We'll see you all in 2 weeks for episode number 4.
See you later. Bye.